Hey, I hope your summer break is going awesome. I am sitting up in my classroom because fortunately the tech people came and updated my entire lab, except for my one teacher computer back there because I told him to hold off on that one, to Photoshop and all the Adobe 2021. So we are running CC 2021, newest updates and everything in my lab, which meant it was time for me to come play. We had been using CC 2018 now for 3 years, so it was time, right? Let's take a look at some of the changes in case you haven't had a chance to check them out either. So in 2020, some of the cool changes that I have found so far are there is an edit sky replacement. So you can now replace the sky in just one foul swoop. You have a picture that has a sky in it. You come here to sky replacement, and then there's a drop down and you can choose all kinds of different skies. They have a whole catalog of skies built in. You can shift the edge in case you don't want it to go right up to the edge, and that way it uses some of the existing sky. You can also fade that edge. You can change the brightness if you want to make it kind of a different time of day. Temperature scale, you can make it bigger so that you only see part of it. You can take your move tool and scoot it around so you get the part of the image that you want. Lots of cool things here. It will output it to new layers if you want it to, and it'll put them in a group folder over here. So you have to end up closing down that folder to use it, but hey, that's pretty cool. You know, they do that a lot now as a neural filter on like Snapchat and stuff like that. So the students are used to being able to replace a sky like that, and now you can do it in Photoshop too. A couple of other items that they have done differently. They have added an additional selection option in Select and Mask. So if you've been using Photoshop for a while, you know that when you're on the quick selection, there is Select Subject, which I'm going to use to select myself and my mama. And then I'm going to take that straight into Select and Mask. And I love Select and Mask. It was one of those things that when they added it, I was like, yes, please. I appreciate you so much. But once you get in here, there is now a button called Refine Hair. And that Refine Hair is going to allow you in one click to refine, and it looks for the edges of hair, and it does one additional step there to try to help any image that has hair around it. So that's just an additional thing there. You could still use the Refine Edge brush like in the past. There are some additional settings in here that you can use, and of course you're going to want to output that out to a layer mask so that you can get rid of the original layer. And there we go. Pretty simple. And that it made a pretty decent selection. Of course, you can still edit your layer mask to fix that selection. A couple of other things that I thought were pretty cool. They do have these things called neural filters. I have not been super impressed by neural filters yet, but I'm sure they'll get better. Under the filter menu, it's neural filters. If you have faces, it automatically detects faces. They're kind of very heavy in the face area, these neural filters. So for instance, if I'm right here on me, and I'm not really zoomed up, so let's zoom up a bit. If I'm not really, or if I have to choose my person, and then I have to choose which ones to turn on. Now there are several that are in beta, and I will tell you the depth blur in beta, pretty good. Pretty good. You can choose to make things match a little better if you're trying to match the depth of focus. But let's look at skin smoothing. When you press skin smoothing, you can come here and add a blur or a smoothness. So I'm on me right now. It blurred it to 50. And let's smooth it out a little bit more. I'm going to take these a little bit high, a little bit too over filtered, but just so you can see them really well. So here's my after. I'm going to flip it off. So look at my face while I flip it off. There you go. See the difference? And that's just all done very quickly. So that's a really nice smoothing of skin option that we now have. So that's one of those. Again, there are some different ones that you can do over here as well. Smart Portrait has some promise, but it's really slow because this filter processes image data in the cloud, and I have like 24 gigs of RAM, and it is still pretty slow. But here you're supposed to be able to change. You can change the gaze, like which direction the eyes are looking, hair thickness, head direction, surprise, like the expression on the face. Let's do gaze. I'm going to make my eyes look over towards mom a bit. So I'll drag that over. You can click on the other head to move the blue box so it recognizes a different person. See, notice how long it's taking? It's taking a really long time. And the ones that I watched online, like showing me all the differences, like theirs just happened immediately. And I've tried it on multiple machines and it does not happen immediately for me. All right, there we go. Now my gaze, instead of going forward, is over there off to the side. It looks pretty realistic. So that's pretty cool. And again, you've got all these other ones. I haven't really tried anger. Let's try to make me really angry. I have a feeling like I'm going to look like super scary here. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, when you hit OK, it puts those changes out to a new layer. This one's a bit much. But anyway, you kind of get the gist of it. These are some of the new changes, and my students will love these changes, but they are kind of resource intensive because they happen in the cloud. A few other things if you're not aware, I'm going to press, actually, let me go ahead and merge these down so that they're one layer and apply that mask. If you press Control T, as you know, you can scale down. And when you transfer them down on the old versions, 2018 and backwards, you always had to hold Shift. Well, on 2019 and up, you don't have to hold Shift, and you don't have to pull from a corner. You can pull from anywhere. And that includes text. So in 2019, they also made the same change for text. So if I type my name in here, same situation. It's never going to let me type my name. There we go. So if I type my name in here, same situation. Once I put that down, I can just press Control T. And it doesn't matter where I pull from, it will make the text bigger or smaller. Again, if you don't want that, like you wanted to smash the letters, now you have to hold Shift to break that option. See, so now we've broken it. But now once it's broken, now it's scaled down and I can still use the other to scale that one proportionally. So that's a really cool change, but that's going to be a tough one for my kids to get used to, but I'm really glad they finally did that. And I knew they did it in 2019, but we hadn't upgraded yet. In 2020, they also added the same feature for shapes. So if you have like a triangle in there and you pull from anywhere, it's going to scale proportionally. That was added in 2020. One other thing, I'm not 100% sure which version it was added in, but the gradient tool has had an overhaul. And notice now, when you have the gradient button, it's like super different than the gradient panel used to be. And so if we look here, you can see you've got now categories of gradients. If I'm clicked on something, like I'm clicked on text right now, if I come here to the reds, I can click one of these and it's going to apply it as a gradient overlay to the text, which is very cool and contextual, like it figured out what I was doing. If you make a blank layer, you can come up in here and essentially it's going to choose something. So like here's clouds. You're going to choose your gradient. It's going to put it in there. And then of course I can move it behind everything and use it. Now you can really see where these edges were not so good whenever I added all that extra stuff. But anyways, so the gradient fill, that's kind of a cool option that you can access now if you make a new layer through the gradients panel. Last little thing I want to show you is going to be the styles glyph. Let me switch this to a darker color here. If you have never used the glyph panel, it's under window and glyphs. If you've never used it, it does show you alternates for fonts. But maybe, depending on what version you have, you've not seen that you can look and see what alternates are available by highlighting your letter, and then this thing pops up. And if you have alternates, this font has an alternate T with a swoop, then I can replace that right there, just like that. And you can do it for the whole thing. You can highlight all the letters, and if there was anything else that would pop up, or you can come over here and just look through the glyphs panel and see what alternate letters are available in that specific font. You can say alternates for selection in this drop down, and so here you can see I have an O, and then these are two other weird O's. Let's just choose the funny O. For that one, I just double clicked it, and there we go. Now we have that little O in there. So just a couple of little things to show you some of the differences in the version that I was running and the version I'm running now. I'm sure I'm going to run into a million different things, some that will probably drive me crazy, but wanted to share that with you. I will say with shapes, one problem that you're going to run into if you use a lot of shapes and you're going from an older version to this newest version is they have gotten rid of a majority of the custom shapes. So custom shapes where you would go to get your arrows and call out bubbles, talk bubbles. Yeah, those categories aren't there anymore. You have 4: wild animals, leaf trees, boats, and flowers. Now, I only have this last one because I added it. And this is how you can get to those old shapes, all those old shape categories. Why they got rid of them all, I do not know. But here's how you add it, and it's not right here where you think you would. Yay. So you're going to go to Window and Shapes. When you get to Window Shapes, you hit the 3 arrow or the 3 lines in the corner, and then you're going to add in those legacy shapes. So if you're using an old textbook or old resources and you need to use some of those old shapes, that's where you're going to have to go to get them if you're in the new version. Legacy shapes and more. I thought that was an important one to let you all know about. Anyway, if you've been using the new versions, hey, drop a comment in on our Facebook page here and share with us what you think are some cool features that you've learned about as well. I'm out.